50K. So choose dispute resolution centers that you can actually afford. Then the next one is emerging trends. You know, in many areas now, and in fact, it's world over, you talk about sustainable development. Sustainable development. So, green areas, if you are building, you don't talk of flowers, you don't talk of trees, you don't talk of, but I know arable estates, those places, they will put all these things in place. Then alternative ownership. This is also very, very important. But because of greed in our society these days, I don't know, friendship no longer, even brotherhood does not really matter again. There are properties we manage that our friends built over the years. Like front is my friend, the back is mine. I actually purchased that property in their name and built it, and they're collecting rent. But now, even if you bring your brother to come and manage business with you, before you know it, there will be problem. I hope we will not count that kind of issue in Jesus' name. So, but here, the alternative ownership, we have shared ownership. You can agree with your friend to buy a property, but please involve a lawyer. That is why I'm saying it is lawyer's perspective. I'm not up to 5 minutes. I hope, Oga, you are not coming to... I'm looking at my watch. To navigate these things, a lawyer should collaborate with experts. You know, one thing in law is, if you don't know a thing, you can call your colleague, or you can outsource. Yes, we are trained to be learned men, but it is even professionally wrong for you to do things you do not know. First, seek financial advice because it's an investment. Architects, like our Oga said, you may meet him to advise you. Technologies is also another thing that you may say, okay, like these days, you may not be able to go to where the property is located. You say, please, do you have the video? Those are technology driven. Now, you have to be proactive. The proactive next you have to adopt, being a lawyer, is to anticipate disputes. That is why I said, if you want to buy any of the properties here, meet a lawyer. Assuming you have 1,000, the other one has 3,000, put it in writing, properly executed. It will save you the stress of hiring me or any of our colleagues in the future to come to court to speak grammar. Now, that is one aspect of what I've said, that I do not agree that real estate has an uncertain future. The future of real estate is bright, and I've taken that to the expert that a lawyer should be guided in helping you making an decision, so that you will not say that I don't know real estate is this bad, but because you are not informed, then you have been deformed. Now, another aspect is generally on property acquisition. You know, by law, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 43, says you can own property anywhere in Nigeria, anywhere in Nigeria. And if you want to buy, Arable Estate says you are not from Asaba, they are not going to sell it to you, please contact me. I will sue them. I hope my Ogas will not be angry with me if I sue them that they are not selling and not from Asaba. You can own property anywhere in Nigeria. It is your right. But that your right has been circumscribed by Land Use Act. And I will summarize what the law is in the Land Use Act. Number one, the maximum thing you can get is right of occupancy. Because when that law was promulgated, it took out all the lands and gave it to the governor or to the local government chairman. as trustees for us. So they will not say you are the owner of that land per se, but at least you have that right of occupancy at least for 99 years. Are you following? Number 2, dispositions you are going to make. Like I said, is not subject to any ethnic consideration. If you go to buy land and they say you're not from that area, please let me know. It's not. So the transferee buys any land anywhere he wants to buy and build. Number 3, private rights. That because you have right to own that property, to buy that property anywhere, does not mean if there is going to be federal road, because many people are dying in that area, they want to create road, you say this is my right. I have the right by the constitution of the Nigeria to own property. So the government will do what? May pass through your house because of overriding public interest. This overriding public interest, many governors in Nigeria has abused it, with all due respect. They may collect your building and give to their brother, to their sister, but that is not true. If they do that, please let me know. I will file papers for you and get your land back. Then, number 4, security of tenure is dependent on the land use. You will not say because you have right to own a land that you will decide to do anything in that property. Like currently, I think Anambra State since has that law. If there is element of kidnapping in your building, they will pull it down and take over that place and use it to do whatever they want. Recently I read on the papers, one man, either in the US or UK, they had his property demolished in Enugu because Enugu also have that kind of law. So if you build, maybe you say this property is good, I developed it, I'm in UK, and you are in UK sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria, if they get anybody there doing anything illegal, they will do what? They will pull it down. Now, like I said, the interest of the governor and the local government chairman is just to protect you, and because of that overriding public interest. So you have a right to own a property, but that right is subject to that overriding public interest. Now, some have argued that the Land Use Act is in the Constitution and therefore it will override it. It is not true. It is incorporated in the Constitution, but it is not part of the Constitution, which means even if the Land Use Act decide to take any power from you, derogating this 43, get a lawyer, you will win the case, because the Constitution of Nigeria is the ground norm. All other powers, institutions and persons in Nigeria are subject to that law. Nobody can take away that. Now let us bring it home. Fortunately, what we register in Delta State is title. It's very interesting. And I know by God's grace, Aribo Estate has registered their title. So if you purchase from them, you don't need any other thing. Your investment is secured. Is that not so? Because they are registered. It therefore means that the village, the community that place is cited is aware of their existence. The government of Delta State is already aware of their existence. So if you invest there, you should go home and sleep. That is the provision of section 31 of the registration of title law of Delta State. In summary, now registration is very, very important. I quoted Ephesians chapter 1 verse 14 here. You know, God guarantees his inheritance through his Holy Spirit. Now, the state guarantees land by giving their consent. And I went further to say, even what God says in James chapter 4 verse 13 will not hinder this guarantee. What does God says in James 4:13? He's saying, I'm going to do investment, I'm going to buy, I'm going to sell. He said, look at your life, you may die the next day. So even if you buy all the land in arable groups, if you buy all the lands and you die the next day, your investment is guaranteed. No be so? That is to tell you that even that James chapter 4 verse 13 does not apply in real estate. You may disagree with me for the pastors that are here, but that is what it is. Now, if you have done all these things, Delta State's registration of title law says your right is almost as absolute. The only thing that you are bound to is overriding public interest. And because it is registered, they will pay you compensation. You see, when River Niger, they want to construct second Niger bridge, many of our clients' property were affected. And I can tell you, we will receive the equivalent of that property from the federal government of Nigeria. It is not audio, it is real. We receive that money. So ensure that you register, or because you buy from arable groups who have registered their interest in that land, your right is protected. All these things I have said to you has been decided and tested by law up to Supreme Court, and they said that is the correct position of the law. So I'm not here to tell you story. I'm not here to convince you. I'm telling you the law as it is. Now, specifically, that is the last thing I'm going to say, is that the Oga of arable groups asked me to look at title, land title. Land title is simply the document you receive when you buy a property. It's nothing more, nothing less. So if you buy from them, that document they are going to give you is your title. Now, because that title is dependent on many things, that is why you need reliable real estate real estate company to enable them guide you. One, you need governor's consent. And that is probably maybe number 2 or number 1 also. Certificate of occupancy, which I've explained to you. I'm not sure it's 20 minutes. 17. Okay, that is I'm still within time. Certificate of occupancy. That's what I've explained to you, that's what the government will give you. And it's actually good. It's good. And it will last for 99 years. And of course, those of us that will purchase this property, by God's grace, I'm not sure that we'll be alive the next 99 years. But even if we are alive, it will be maybe doing like this. So it will outlive you. So it's a good investment. Then another form of title you can get is gazettes. For instance, government comes to this area and say, this area is now an urban area. People living here should do what? Vacate. And because we are not more comfortable, we write to the government, how would you just chase all of us out here? Please now, give us something. And they decide to give us part of our land as compensation. So you can rely on that as your title. Did you get me? The land was formerly yours, but government has decided this is an urban area. Of course, it is not registered, it's a community land. So you will not ask for compensation. But because you started protesting, the government will just look at you and say, these people deserve something. And they decide to give back parts of your land. That that will now be a source of title, not because you live in that village before and your grandfathers owned those lands. Now, what Delta State government did in their registration of title law is they treated everything as deed, even though they said deed of lease, deed of this, deed of that, deed of assignment. They treated everything as deed. Now, whatever your lawyer prepares for you, let it be properly executed. Let it have all the characteristics of those things. Somebody sent me a document from Enugu State to prepare. I looked at that document and I called the lawyer that sent it to me. I said, this is a lease. Because why even lawyers are not much? Because we don't know what government will come up to do after 99 years. But I'm sure it will be an argument for the future. But assuming you buy from Aribo Estate and they give you lease, please ask them to change it to another thing, that you don't need lease. That's a free advice. Or maybe when I drop the mic, you pay me. So, on that note, I wish all of us a happy town hall meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. If you have a question, please just let me know. I have two already, so I'll just ask it real fast. Okay. What are the legal steps involved in transferring property ownership? That's one. And the second one is, how do I verify that? How do I verify that a property has a clean title and no legal dispute? Then the last one, how can I resolve a boundary dispute with my neighbor?
Okay. Number one, you have to apply. It's by application. So if you apply to the ministry or to the commissioner of lands or to the registrar of lands deeds that you want to register your land, that is the first step. In Abuja, they have step by step, but the first step you have to do is you apply, and for that purpose you need a lawyer. I hope I answered your question. Number two, you said, please remind me that your question number two is.
Two is, how do I verify that a property has a clean title?
Okay, now
legal dispute.
I will still answer it like number one. You need a lawyer because you are not a lawyer. However, for knowledge sake, but in Delta State, let me be specific. I've also said when your land is registered, if you go to Ministry of Land, even if any other person is telling you otherwise, do not listen to that person. The law has protected you. What did I say? Protects you in Delta State. But in some other states, you might need to go to maybe court registry and know whether that property is under litigation. And you know you need a lawyer to do that kind of thing. You understand? So you might actually even visit the family that they say that sold the land to know whether, because in Delta State, for instance, in first registration, the family or a community can do what? Write to the minister and say, please don't register these people. And if after verification and they found that actually there is no dispute, they will register you. But if there are dispute, the ministry will help you to resolve it. Now, finally, you said if there are boundary disputes.
Yes, boundary disputes.
Like I said, you should anticipate dispute. For instance, this is my boundary, this is your boundary, and we're having issue. We have to call the surveyor or experts or the person, assuming for instance in this estate, Aribo Estate has designated the meters and perimeters and is determined. If anybody tampers with that, the coordinate will show that somebody has tempered on that. So with that, you don't need to take the laws by your hand. If you approach the person for amicable settlement that he has encroached on your land and the person refuses to, you can go to court or you can involve police so that it will not be that you are taking the laws of the land in your hands. Any other question? Good morning.
Okay, you talked about the fact that if somebody has a clean title and the government needs to make use of the property for any reason whatsoever, the person can get compensation.
Yes, if it's registered.
If it's registered. Most people believe that unless you have a C of O, you cannot be compensated by government. So I would like you to speak to that. What title qualifies a landowner to get compensation from government in the event that government takes over the property for whatsoever reason?
Thank you. Clearly, the government only gives certificate of occupancy. They only give certificate of occupancy. But if there are improvements on that land and it is registered with them, there are exceptions that if you make your case, but it is better to have a C of O. I don't know whether you get my question. I said if there's improvement on the land, assuming this hotel is here and is not even having C of O, there is no governor in Nigeria that will just pull it down and allow you go like that. So they check improvements too. But it's better you have a C of O. Okay, sir.
There have been instances where C of O is, gotten and the land secured. The process of sales, someone maybe wants to he goes there, takes men and materials to site. He will now discover that there are more owners of that same land that are also having the same C of O as he has, and it becomes a conflict between the buyers. And coincidentally, because such cases are rife here in Delta State, is the same person most of the times that sold to A, that also sold to B, and also sold to C. And at times you see that the same plot of land had been bought by different persons from the same original owner who sold to 1, sold to 2, and sold to 3. So when you talk about genuine titles of land, the C of O, now how does it come about now that the same title, the same land had been bought by various people and they all have genuine titles? So I want you to throw light in that area. Thank you.
You can only understand this if you're a practitioner, because I have many cases that they have like 3 C of O. But first of all, if the root of title is from me, for instance, one, I've committed an offense, and government should do what? Treat me as an offender. Number 2 is the government is also to be blamed. And why would the governor, why we don't have maybe, and I also blame technology in the instance. If you have ever conducted a search in the Ministry of Land, you will pay the agent, the staff of the ministry, you will pay him. Even though government is paying him, you have to pay him, number 1. Then you will start searching, searching till whenever you say or she says, I've seen the document. And because of corruption in Nigeria, some of them actually know those things exist. They duplicate the files. So your O may be file A, the same thing. File B, the same thing. And I want to say that Nigeria, we don't take responsibility. And our leaders do not punish the culprits. We keep doing, I know this man. Interests that are nothing. So to answer your question, if they have different roots of title, that is, this Mr. A sold to me, Mr. B sold, the best way to resolve it is to resolve who owns that land in the first place. Because C of O is not better than the man who owns the land. So if I own this land and they give you C of O, I'm actually the owner of the land, not you. You understand? That's why you have to know your roots. And that's why I said in the beginning that if you buy from this estate, their root of title is already known. from the community, from the government, and you are acquiring the title from them. So if Aribu should, I know they are genuine businessmen, they will not, if you buy from them, you will never see this kind of problem. So thank you. Any other question before I take a bow? Should I take a bow, Mahoga? Thank you, sir.